Good morning and welcome to this new lecture. Today we're going to deal with the third and fourth conjugation. So the third and fourth conjugation are slightly different from the first and the second. You do not have to learn another set of endings, which is good news, because the endings are the same personal endings that we have studied at the beginning of the course. But you have to pay attention to the change of theme vowels between present, imperfect, and future, which can be a little tricky at times. An important difference is the future, since it is not formed in the same way as the first and second conjugation, and we're gonna see the way in which it is formed. So let's start by talking about the distinctive features of third and fourth conjugation. So the third conjugation is characterized by a short e before the ending re of the infinitive. Therefore, if we have the verb legere, the e, the theme vowel is short. Therefore, you have to read it legere. If you read it legere, is incorrect because you are making the e long whereas it is short. The third conjugation has a subcategory of verbs which add an e before the o of the first person singular of the present stem, while the infinitive is regular. So basically it adds an e in the form of the first principal part. These are called third conjugation I-stem verbs. For example, the verb that I choose as an example is capere. As you can see, the infinitive is regular, and the irregular infinitive of the third conjugation. But as you can see, the first person singular, so the first principal part, is not capo, as one would expect, but is capio. For the previous verb, for example, is lego. For an I-stem verb, you will have, of course, capio, like an e before the ending of the first person singular. This e, however, characterizes all the conjugation, so these kind of verbs keep the e for all the conjugation. The fourth conjugation is easier because it's characterized by a long e before the ending re of the infinitive. Audire, as you can see, the long e is a distinctive feature of the fourth conjugation. You find this long e for all the conjugation, so it's an important feature to remember. We can now conjugate the present active. So the theme vowel for the present of third conjugation is short e for third conjugation verbs and short e for third I-stem conjugation verbs, while for the fourth conjugation is a long e. So as verbs, I chose legere, capere, and audire, as in the previous examples, and I'm going to read all of them. Lego, legis, legit, legimus, legitis, legunt. Capio, capis, capit, capimus, capitis, capiunt. Audio, audis, audit, audimus, auditis, audiunt. As you can see, the personal endings are all the same, so if you remember the theme vowel, you don't have to learn anything new, you just need to add the personal endings. The only difference is that in the present, the ending of the third person plural is the archaic ending unt, which we have already seen in other circumstances. For example, if you remember the third person plural of the future of first and second conjugation, they have the same ending. Example, let's take the verb amare. Third person plural of the future is amabunt. Of course, in the future you also have an infix, which you don't have here for the present. As for the imperfect is very easy because nothing changes from the first and second conjugation. So the theme vowel for the imperfect of third conjugation is long e and ie for I-stem verbs, while for the fourth conjugation is ie. The infix of the imperfect is always ba. So if you remember the change of theme vowels, it is fairly easy to form the imperfect because the endings are the same, and also the infix, of first and second conjugation. I'm going to read the verbs. Legebam, legebas, legebat, legebamus, legebatis, legebant. Capiebam, capiebas, capiebat, capiebamus, capiebatis, capiebant. Audiebam, audiebas, audiebat, audiebamus, audiebatis, audiebant. As you can see, even if we divide the verb into stem, theme, vowel, infix, and ending, there is no difference with the first and second conjugation verbs. The future is probably the trickiest of the three. So the theme vowel for the future of third conjugation is long e and ie for I stem verbs, while for the fourth conjugation is ie with long e. No infix is needed, and this is the difficult part. In this case, it is not that we don't have an infix, but let us say that theme vowel and infix in this case coincide. So when you see a long e or ie, you already understand that it is a future. To remember the theme vowel change, you can refer to this cute sentence. Conjugation 4 and 3, in the future, take long e. I'm gonna read the verbs. Legam, leges, leget, legemus, legetis, legent. Capiam, capies, capiet, capiemus, capietis, capient. Audiam, audies, audiet, audiemus, audietis, audient. So it is very easy, as you can see, to confuse the endings of the present and the future of third and fourth conjugation because they kind of look like the same. The theme vowel changes, but the rest is the same. So now, when you find the verb, you should pay attention to three elements. So when you see a verb, you should identify the conjugation first, because if we have seen that the future of first and second conjugation is different from third and fourth. So identifying the conjugation also helps you with identifying the tense. You also have to identify the correct theme vowel, which is essential in order to understand the tense. And as a third element, you have to look whether the infix is present or absent. Of course, the imperfect has the infix ba, while for the future of third and fourth conjugation, as we have seen, there is no infix. You also have to notice that the first person singular is an exception and the theme vowel is an a. So this, unfortunately, needs to be memorized. We can talk now about the passive. Basically, for the passive, nothing changes, because the switch of the theme vowels is always the same as the active. The only thing that changes, of course, is the personal endings, because you don't need the personal endings of the active anymore, but you need the personal endings of the passive, which you know because we have studied them. I'm going to read the verbs. Legor, legeris, legitur, legimur, legimini, leguntur. Capior, caperis, capitur, capimur, capimini, capiuntur. Audior, audiris, auditur, audimur, audimini, audiuntur. So an exception is that in the third conjugation, the second person singular is always eris, which is something that we have seen also for first and second conjugation nouns, verbs. The ending of the third person plural is the archaic ending untur, which we have already seen. For example, for the future of first conjugation, the third person plural of amare, future, is amabuntur. And here you find it for the present. As for the imperfect, nothing changes from first and second conjugation. Of course, for the passive, you need the passive personal endings. Therefore, it would be legebar, legebaris, legebatur, legebamur, legebamini, legebantur. Capiebar, capiebaris, capiebatur, capiebamur, capiebamini, capiebantur. Audiebar, audiebaris, audiebatur, audiebamur, audiebamini, audiebantur. As for the future, you still have the same switch of theme vowels, and you can remember the cute sentence. Conjugation 4 and 3, in the future, take long e. And similarly, no infix is needed. Therefore, you will have legar, legeris, legetur, legemur, legemini, legentur, capiar, capieris, capietur, capiemini, capiemur, capiemini, capientur, audiar, audieris, audietur, audiemur, audiemini, audientur. So everything that we have said for the active is valid for the passive too. So the theme vowel for the first person singular is an A, which is an exception even for the active. And so it is very easy, of course, even here to confuse the forms of the present and future. So you have to remember these 3 steps. Identify the conjugation, identify the correct theme vowel, and look whether the infix is present or absent. This is all that I had to say. Of course, third and fourth conjugation are a little tricky, so we will spend a little bit of time studying and reviewing that. Thank you, and I will see you tomorrow.